Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Madam Norafida and my fellow friends. We are from Group 5 with the group member Ahmad Syahmi, Najma Haikal, Haiki, Farika Atirah and Arif will present about the National Development Policy. Our presentation is divided into 5 main research objectives which are related to. The first is to identify the National Development Policy. Second is to find out the strategies of national development policy. Third is to analyze the impact or positive result of national development policy. Fourth is to verify the challenges to the implementation of national development policy. And lastly is to describe the success of national development policy. So I will pass this presentation to my friends to continue these presentations.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to Doctor and my fellow friends. I'm Muhammad Najma Haikal, my number is 270052, and today me and my groupmate will be presenting about the Malaysia and the National Development Policy. So I will give you some briefing about what is National Development Policy and what are the National Development Policy to Malaysia. Okay. A national development policy is a coordinated economic activity in achieving economic growth in which the country serves as the collective actors and the state serve as the primary instrument of collective actions. When the challenge they face is international economic competitiveness, it is an informal or implied political alliance or political agreement in which socio-economic classes under the leadership of the government postpone their internal problem and collaborate. It is an entity or group of institutions that advise the key political and economic players on how to establish new public policy or reform current one, as well as business people on when and what to invest. As the result, inducing innovation and capital accumulation is always part of national development policy. It is a nationalist institution in the sense that it gives national labor, expertise, and capital first priority, but this nationalism generally moderate and democratic, open to international collaboration and rejecting ethnic criteria. So, Malaysia is a multicultural country, has successfully reduced poverty rates and income disparity by attaining rapid economic growth and maintaining racial peace. What happened in Malaysia between 1970 and 2000 was complicated and difficult, requiring the government to masterfully handle the many needs of a diverse society. During the 70s and 80s, Malaysia developed a set of policy and strategy guide to country development management, core national policies, long-term, medium-term, yearly and special development plan, as a sector and industry master plan were all included. So, during the 1970 until 1990, the government set the policy such as national economic policy, and it's followed by the National Development Policy, which ran from 1991 to 2000, and also Vision 2020, which was great in 1991, and Project A Vision of Nation 3 Decades in Future complemented this measure. So the two main national programs were based on the growth philosophy that was distributed fairly. National unity was viewed as the aim of development with two-pronged plan to attain it. First is poverty eradication and societal transformation. This was to be done in the setting of continuing and fast economic expansion. So, I would like to explain about the definition, the factor that drove the implementation, and also the objective of national development policy in Malaysia. So, the National Development Policy was established in the second Outline Perspective Plan in 1991, and also the part of 6th Measure Plan 1991-2000 as the successor to the National Economic Plan. by preserving its key aspect and confirmed the importance of the latter. The national development policy was put in place due to a number of important considerations. So, what's the factor? The first factor is the anti-poverty policy was to alter its focus from eradicating general poverty to eradicating served people while simultaneously lowering relative poverty. So, as we know, there are 8 critical strategies that drove the poverty reduction achievement. So, the first side is agreeing on definition and measurement of poverty. Second is increasing productivity and diversifying sources of income. Third, targeting the hardcore poverty, hardcore poor through a special program on their needs. And four, involving the private sector and non-governmental organization. 5, improving the quality of life to the poor, providing welfare assistance to the people who were elderly and disabled. That's a number to work. 7, maintaining price stability. And 8, lowering or eliminating tax rates for the poor. So, the second factor is rather than emphasizing BUMIPUTERA ownership and control of corporate equity, the focus was to shape the employment and the rapid development of an active BUMIPUTERA commercial and industrial community (BCIC) as a more effective strategy for increasing the meaningful participation of the BUMIPUTERA in the modern sector of the economy. So the policy is likely to have had a determinant impact on the growth rate, opportunity cost, and non-BUMIPUTERA participation in the business. Thus, however, it were minor and were assisted by the accomplishment of the poverty reduction and restructuring project, as well as the virtual absence of racial strife in Malaysia since 1969. So the third factor is to expand the prospects for private sector growth. So to produce more employment, business possibility, greater wage, and increasing wealth. Persistent and fast economic expansion is required. This necessity capable and effective macroeconomic management by the public sector and industrial management by private sector, as well as the tight coordination between the two. So an export-oriented and robust economy also help to ensure the economic growth. So the national development goal is to achieve balanced development in order to build more cohesive and just society. So the government intervention in the marketplace and affirmative action type program to ensure the fairer distribution of opportunity and incomes among all races and social groups may be necessary in a multi-racial or heterogeneous nation with wide and entrenched disparities of economic opportunity and business. So it is avoid poverty problem during the in the multiracial country. So the NDP goals also include eradicating poverty by focusing on the lowest member of society as well as the inter-ethnic relation. So poverty elevation necessity two major strategy: economic development and government-run affirmative action program for the poor. Together with Malaysia's strong economic growth, the poverty program has helped to alleviate poverty and enhance the quality life for Malaysians. So I think that's all from me. So I will pass the floor to my members, wish to explain about what is the strategy of the National Development Plan. So thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The first strategy is macroeconomic strategies. To improve Malaysia's growth chance in a rapidly changing global economy, macroeconomic measure aimed at increasing the country's productive capacity and competitiveness will be prioritized. Productivity growth will be crucial throughout the 6th plan period, owing to major technological improvements and a transforming global economic climate. Furthermore, as natural resources become scarcer and environmental concerns develop, ensuring resource efficiency is crucial for long-term success. The strategy for producing growth will be to first improve the economy's efficiency and competitiveness, and then to encourage the private sector to continue to lead the way. Under macroeconomic stability, the private sector thrives. As a result, the government will continue to foster conditions that foster private investment, private sector initiative, and entrepreneurship. Policies shall be undertaken to maintain price stability, competitive exchange rates, and a healthy balance of payments. To improve the investment climate, the administration will protect and liberalize procedures and regulations. In this regard, the government will retain its present accommodating posture on foreign equity requirements for manufacturing and tourism. Administrative procedures and regulations at the federal, state, and local levels will also be modified to ensure the success of private sector projects. Although existing regulatory bodies such as the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, the Foreign Investment Committee (FIC), and the Capital Issues Committee (CIC) will continue to operate. Procedures will be rationalized to ensure that they are consistent with the overarching policy of encouraging private sector growth and foreign investment. Efforts will be undertaken to accelerate industrial development. Malaysia industry must move towards more technological, sophisticated, high-quality items that are integrated with developed country markets in order to remain competitive globally. This will necessitate legislative change to encourage technological advancements, diversification of the industrial base, reorganizing and modernizing, particularly among small and medium-sized enterprise (SMEs), and higher manufacturing standards in production design and marketing. The second strategy is sectoral strategies. Sectoral strategies will strive to diversify the economic base, boost value-add activities, and investigate new growth potential. Efforts to modify the industrial structure further will strengthen the economic resilience, while agriculture will continue to be important to the economy. Manufacturing will be the engine of growth and structural change. As the economy industrializes, the service sector will expand and become increasingly important. Increased efforts will be made to export service in order to minimize the significant deficits in the service account of the balance of payment. Land scarcity, labor problems, and growing production costs are stifling the agriculture business, while suitable land is still accessible in Sabah and Sarawak. Agriculture infrastructure will be developed progressively. Furthermore, forestry and inshore fishery resources must be maintained and promoted as soon as possible. Given these constraints, the strategy will strive to boost the productivity of present cultivar zones via land consolidation and smallholder stability, more R&D and labor-saving device, greater extension service, and a more efficient marketing system. New rural industrialization opportunities and expand rural community mobility into current activities will be established to enable vertical sector integration for high value-add items. The third strategy is increasing productivity and diversifying sources of income strategies. Projects to modernize traditional manufacturing practice and participate in mainstream economic activities were emphasized. Because disadvantaged families were mostly involved in agriculture, the focus was on existing and allowing them to engage in modern farming, value-add processing of agricultural items, and non-farm or off-farm activities or employment, which often paid more than traditional farming. These include relocating the landless and those with unproductive holdings to new land development programs where they could work and eventually own the rubber and oil palm plantations. Single-family dwellings with piped water and electricity were also provided to the settlers, rehabilitating and consolidating existing agricultural lands, replacing outdated commercial crops with newer, higher-yielding clones, and improving planting techniques. Owners of small plots of adjoining property band together to reap the benefits of large-scale companies, promoting village industry and rural entrepreneurship as non-agriculture sources of income for farmers. Intercropping is the practice of growing several crops on the same plots of land to supplement main crop revenues, creating urban farmers markets to enable to farmers to sell directly to customers and so get better prices. Include training and education programs on work attitudes and values is most agriculture and rural development projects to motivate participants to be better and more productive farmers, and an industrial and vocational training system for rural manpower, including youth with credit facilities and related support to enable them to work in non-farm occupation or start their own business.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, thank you to my lecturers and my fellow friends for letting me to speak today to explain my parts on the National Development Policy. First of all, thank you Shahmi for your great explanation on how government have implemented the National Development Policy and what strategies that they have used to obtain their specific goals that has been set. First of all, before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Fikri bin Shahabuddin and my matrix number is 273636. For today, I would like to explain to you guys about what is the impact of National Development Policy and how it has transformed the social structure and economic sector of Malaysia during its implementation. There are several factors that are characterizing the success of new development policy in Malaysia. There are 5 main points that I will elaborate today. The first point is the poverty eradication. The second point is quality of life. The third point is BUMIPUTERA equity restructuring. The fourth point is employment restructuring. And the last point is reduced imbalance of rural and urban areas. First, the poverty eradication. Government strategy in reducing poverty is showing a really good impact when the result of the poverty rate has decreased notably on 16.5% in 1990 to 7.5% in 1999. Other than that, the rates of hardcore poverty also decreasing significantly from 3.9% representing 137,100 households in 1990, towards 1.4% represent 64,100 households in 1999. Next is the quality of life. The quality of life. The NDP also focusing their strategy to improve quality of life in Malaysia society. The Malaysia government has imposed a really good plans to improve their people's life. The quality of life is measured by various factors such as housing, transportation, communication, and working life. Therefore, NDP has improved certain facilities and amenities regarding the elements mentioned before. The presence of government initiative has also becoming the main key factor for better life quality in Malaysia. The NDP main element that characterizing the effective development policy in improving quality of Malaysian life is from sustainable allocation for social and infrastructure of facilities provided in achieving their goals. They also set a really neutral decision in helping improving both areas in Malaysia, which is the rural and urban areas. Next point is the equity restructuring. The NDP strategy also focused in achieving 30% of equity ownership on BUMIPUTERA. This is to ensure the status quo of the BUMIPUTERA remain in the highest rank amongst the various ethnicity in Malaysia. The impact of NDP strategy can be reflected on the increasing of BUMIPUTERA equity ownership in the corporate sector. The BUMIPUTERA share capital ownership in corporate sector has rose from 19.1% in 1990 to 20.6% in 1995 during the early years of NDP implementation in Malaysia administration. Other than that, the equity ownership also recorded a high increase rate on 20.9 billion ringgit in 1990 to 59.4 billion in year 1990 respectively. Next, we can also see the impact of NDP in employment restructuring. Malaysia government has proposed several ways to increase the BUMIPUTERA involvement in higher occupational levels. This is because they want to create a better income structure and economic structure of BUMIPUTERA society during the period of NDP. The government strategy is seemingly working perfectly when private sectors also join in achieving the national goal. The private sector have played a very important role in providing more occupations opportunities to certain qualified BUMIPUTERA, as the impact of the provided job opportunities towards BUMIPUTERA, it has created a big BUMIPUTERA involvement in professional and technical category, which is rose from 16.5% in 1990 to 63.8% in year 2000. Other than that, BUMIPUTERA involvement in managerial and administrative sector also increased accordingly to 28.7% in 1990 to 36.9% in year 2000. The rate of BUMIPUTERA employment in several major sectors also increasing rapidly due to drastic employment transformation from agriculture towards manufacturing. This has created a better economic condition for many private and public sectors, characterized by the increase of workforce and expertise in their organizations. Last point is reduce imbalance of rural and urban areas. The role of NDP is promoting equality in rural and urban areas can be seen from their strategy in developing the economic sector. They have noticed a crucial element that characterizes the growth of each state in Malaysia. The element that is being mentioned earlier is the economic sector that each state is involved. According to the government research, the states that focus on modern sector activities, mainly the production industry, are able to achieve greater economic development rather than states that are focused in agriculture sector only. This is because the modern sector activities is achieving higher demands than agriculture sectors. Therefore, it has created a higher economic development gap between states. To address this issue, the government has increased investment in agriculture production in less developed states, especially in states that have abundant resources such as Sabah and Sarawak. This has resulted in the development of rural areas, and it has become parallel with urban areas in economic sector. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Next, I will pass to my next group member to explain to you more about the NDP. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Bahaki Rahman Krisdianto. My magic number is 274916. And today I would like to deliver my part, which is the challenges of the implementation of NDP. So, the challenges of the implementation of NDP are outlined in the Vision 2020 or Wawasan 2020 document. Mahathir Mohamad, Malaysia 4th Minister and 7th Prime Minister, launched the Wawasan 2020 or Vision 2020 during the announcement of the 6th Malaysian Plan in 1991. The vision calls for the country to become a self-sufficient industrialized country by 2020, and it covers all elements of life, including economic development, social well-being, world-class education, good governance, and psychological harmony. To attain Vision 2020, Mahathir shared that the country would need yearly growth of 7% and in real terms for the next 30 years, from 1990 to 2020, to make the economy 8 times stronger than its 1990 GDP of 115 billion ringgit Malaysia. In 2020, this would equate to 920 billion ringgit Malaysia in GDP. So, Vision 2020 outlined a vision for Malaysia in the year 2020 as well as the problems that would need to be overcome to make it a reality. It was first presented as a working paper at the inaugural meeting of the Malaysian Business Council or MBC, whose chairman was the Prime Minister, which is Mahathir Mohamad. In February 1991, the MBC unanimously approved it, followed by the government and Malaysians in general. As a result, it was elevated to the status of a government policy. Malaysia can be a united nation with a confident Malaysian society infused with a strong moral and ethical values, living in a society that is democratic, liberal, and tolerant, caring economically, just and equitable, progressive and prosperous, and in full possession of an economy that is competitive, dynamic, robust, and resilient by 2020, if Malaysia managed to make the Vision 2020 become reality. So, with all that being said, Tun Mahathir outlined nine strategic challenges that Malaysia must overcome to achieve Vision 2020. Those are, first is establishing a united Malaysian nation made of one Bangsa Malaysia, or Malaysian race. The first is the challenge of forming a cohesive Malaysian country with a sense of shared destiny. This must be a nation that is at peace with itself, territorially and ethically integrated, living in harmony, and full and fair collaborations, composed of one Bangsa Malaysia with political loyalty and commitment to the country. So, although there are many ethnicities in Malaysia, everyone who stays to live in Malaysia should be living as Malaysians, being loyal to the country, see each other as fellow brothers and sisters, striving for the better Malaysia. The second one is creating a psychologically liberated, secure, and developed Malaysian society. So the second challenge is to create a psychologically free, safe, and mature Malaysian society that has faith and confidence in itself, is rightly proud of whom it is and what it has accomplished. It is resilient enough to withstand any crisis. The quest of perfection must characterize this Malaysian society, which must be fully conscious of all of its potential, mentally subordinate to none, and respected by individuals from other countries. So, with this, we want Malaysia to be very mature mentally, being able to grow in a positive direction, manage to withstand challenge, have dignity so that people will be respected. The third one is fostering and developing a mature democratic society. So the third challenge we've always had is fostering and developing a mature democratic society that practices a mature, consensual, community-oriented Malaysian democracy that can serve as a model for many developing countries. Democracy is very important because the diversity that Malaysia have is pretty big. The people backgrounds really affects their needs and limits. So everyone should have equal rights in freedom of expression and freedom of speech. With that being said, it is also very important to respect and have toleration towards each other. That is why it is called mature democratic society. The fourth one will be the challenge is to create a truly moral and ethical society with citizens who are deeply rooted in their religions and spiritual ideals and who adhere to the highest ethical standards. As a nation, we have always been known to value morals and etiquettes highly. This is a positive thing and we need to maintain it because being strong spiritually really helps us control ourselves so that we don't become greedy. We will value humanity more as a human being. The fifth challenge of implementing NDP is establishing a mature, liberal, and tolerant society. The fifth challenge has always been to develop a mature, liberal, and accepting society in which the Malaysians of all races and creeds are free to practice and profess their habits, culture, and religious beliefs while still feeling the sense of belonging to one nation. Everyone deserves to be respected on whatever choice they took in their life as long as it is not something that is not harmful or disrespectful towards each other. Being open-minded is very important to develop a nation with a huge diversity such as Malaysia. The sixth challenge is to establish a scientific progressive society. So, creating a scientific and progressive society is one that is innovative and forward-thinking, and one that is not only consumer of technology but also a contributor to the future scientific and technological civilizations. Investing in education, specifically in the scientific category, is very important because the more educated the people are, the more likely they will be prosperous. Hence, this is why making the people able to control technology instead of letting technology controlling them is very important to develop a nation. The seventh challenge is to develop a completely caring society in which the well-being of the people revolves around a strong and resilient family rather than a state or the individual. Care for each other as a family is very important to strengthen the bond of the people. When someone help and support each other, the chances of them being developed will be better. The eighth challenge is to ensure an economically just society in which there is a fair and equitable distribution of the wealth to the nation. So the eighth challenge is to ensure that society is economically just. This is a society in which the nation's wealth is distributed fairly and equally, and full participations in economic advancement is encouraged. Such society cannot exist as long as race and economic functions are associated with one another, and economic backwardness is associated with race. By distributing the wealth of the nation equally, it will reduce the social gaps which will help the nation to develop better. So the ninth challenge is to establish a prosperous society with an economy that is fully competitive, dynamic, robust, and resilient. So the ninth challenge is to build a society where the economics are growing in a healthy manner. There is no certain company that is completely dominating another. Every business complement each other in order to grow. By doing this, capitalism will be prevented, which means the small business could also thrive. When small business is supported, the nation development will be better. So, in conclusion, the challenges for implementing the NDP are actually simple things, yet very crucial in order for it to work. Things such as toleration, support, cares, and are the ones that is mainly needed for NDP to work. These are the main challenges for NDP to success. Sure, there are big things such as the technology and economic that must be developed, but without small steps, the big steps will never be achieved. That is all from me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Farika. Thank you, Bahaki. Now I'm going to continue with the next research question, which is, does the NDP fail? The NDP actually has not failed completely. Only some of the objectives are taking longer to achieve. Besides the National Vision Policy, NVP also still has the same core objective as the NDP. Therefore, the NDP objective continues to pursue in the National Vision Policy. However, through the National Development Policy, Malaysia has experienced a rapid economic development and managed to reduce poverty and greater income equality. As mentioned before by my colleagues, the NDP mainly focus on eradicating the hardcore poverty rather than poverty in general, and also improve the quality of life of the people in Malaysia rather than maximum economic of growth. So basically, the NDP's success can be recognized in this. Besides, it was also reported that from year to year, Malaysia has achieved higher income equality and the poverty rate has fallen dramatically between 1991 till 2004. This is all due to the privatization and the condition that 30% of the equity must be reserved only for the BUMIPUTERA. Plus, due to the comprehensive program that incorporated 8 strategies that was outlined in the government NDPs, such as the government made a special program focused on the poor needs and delivering appropriate assistance to them, and also providing welfare assistance, maintaining stable prices, reducing or even eliminating income tax rates, and also the others. Next, on the quality of life. So the government also succeed in improving the quality of life of the poor by providing infrastructural and social amenities such as electricity, roads, medical and health services. As we all know, Malaysia has known for one of the best health services and currently was ranked 8th in Asia Pacific. Also let's not forget the schools for rural people and more. Besides, the Malaysian Quality of Life Index show an increasement of 10.9 points, which is a lot. So indirectly, the poverty program that the government initiated in the NDP did help to reduce poverty and indirectly help enhancing the quality life of Malaysians. Third, the employment opportunities and the increasement of the Malays in the modern economy sector. NDP did succeed in shifting employment and the rapid development of an active BUMIPUTERA commercial and industrial community, BCIC, to increase the participation of the BUMIPUTERA. However, there was some drawbacks and makes it taking longer to achieve the NDP objective. During the NEP period, the number of BUMIPUTERA involved working in the industrial sector does increase. However, during the NDP period, somehow are overrepresented in technical, professional and services jobs, but they were underrepresented at the upper levels in private sector. So So the government took the initiative to privatization, but it was backlash due to the BUMIPUTERA workers were lack in appropriate education training, financing and technical skills. So the government was still struggling in creating more employment during the NDP period, but needed to mind that these effects were actually minimal. So overall, even though some NDP objectives are taking longer to achieve, but NDP did succeed in alleviating the hardcore poverty and enhancing the quality of life of the Malaysians. Besides, there was also a financial crisis that happened during the NDP period in 1997 till 1998 that somehow did affected the national development planning, making some of the objectives slow to achieve. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean the NDP has failed completely. It's only taking longer to achieve. That's all for me. Thank you.
In conclusion, a national development policy coordinates economic activities to achieve growth. It is a nationalist institution prioritizing national labor, knowledge, and capital. But modern nationalism is open to international cooperation and rejects ethnic criteria. The two primary national programs promote a fair distribution of growth. The goal of development was national unifications using a two-pronged approach. The policies and objectives were implemented, monitored, and assessed utilizing a Malaysian-specific institutional framework. Several factors influenced the formulation of the national development policy. The focus switched from the general poverty to severe poverty while decreasing relative poverty. The policy is believed to have hampered growth rates, opportunity costs, and non-BUMIPUTERA company involvement. Malaysia's national development policy aims to improve everyone's quality of life.